So last time we talked about the Tower of Babel, we talked about the smartphone, and we're going to move on today and dedicate some time to social media. And I think a good way to get into this conversation is just to tell a little bit about my own experience with social media. My relationship with social media changed in 2020, and I have a journal entry from that time that I think would be good to share, just to let people know what my thinking was around this time and really what affected this. So I'm going to read an abridged version of that.
Okay.
July 15, 2020. Last night marked the end of a week-long fast from entertainment and social media. I proposed the fast to my sister Hannah in hopes of addressing a conviction of hers regarding media consumption and decreased productivity. The conditions of the fast were simple. We were to completely abstain from social media, YouTube, video streaming services, and television. We granted ourselves the consumption of music and podcasts under the condition that we may be doing no other task when we listen to them. As the proposer of the fast, I anticipated positive results. What I got was potentially life-changing insight. During the first few days of the fast, my mind was alarmingly restless. It begged me for stimulation, particularly while I was driving or eating. In the past, I would never be found doing these activities in complete silence. A song, a YouTube video, or a podcast would always be sounding. My mind missed this comfort terribly and made quite a fuss about it. However, I managed to bear this discomfort long enough for the detox to take place. With the option of watching videos and scrolling through social media eliminated, I began devoting more time to more beneficial preoccupations. I began to read significantly more. I completed the 2 books I had been reading and began 2 new books. I set aside time almost every day for the listening of a new music album. Since the beginning of the fast, I have listened to 6 such albums. I devoted more time to my devotional life as well. I began reading and meditating upon only 1 verse of the Bible each day. These times of devotion were so rich and edifying that I remained in them for an average of 2 hours a day, and even then could scarcely be pulled away from them. This steady consumption of rich materials, in stark contrast to the preponderance of sheer nonsense and idiocy characteristic of entertainment and social media, transformed my thought life. My thoughts became clearer and yet more complex, lighter and yet more profound. The sharp decrease in data input allowed me to better absorb and retain that data, which I did consume. With these pleasures denied, what increased in pleasure as a result? Everything else. Not only long, difficult tasks like reading and writing, but mundane tasks also became significantly more pleasurable. Suddenly, I came to look forward to getting out of my bed in anticipation of the joy of everyday life. The quality of sleep and ease of waking increased. I suspect this was a result of the breaking of a habit of mine in which I spend approximately half an hour on my phone, consuming entertainment and social media, to wind down before bed. The removal of useless data input and glaring blue light in my eyes likely affected this change. My mind became clearer than normal, resulting in improved speech, study, and wit. I have treated those around me better, being more sensitive to their needs and more able to meet them. And finally, I'm more aligned across the dimensions of body, mind, and spirit. It's important to note that all of this took place within the span of a week. That week, however, came to a close, and with it, the fast. I confess that I was sad to see it go. Nevertheless, I returned to entertainment and social media at the appointed time, making only the change of placing a limit on my consumption of it. I began scrolling through my feed. And what did I encounter? Vanity, temptation, and foolishness. Why did I ever put myself through this? I asked. Why indeed? What about when I returned to YouTube? Having allotted only 30 minutes for it, I knew I must be judicious with my video choice. What video is so good I will use my allotted time for it? A few moments of thought revealed a frightening truth. There is almost nothing that I usually watch on YouTube that I myself consider worth half an hour of my time. To summarize, my return to entertainment and social media was not a happy one. When I awoke the next morning, I knew immediately something is wrong. I had a tightness in my chest. It was as if someone had his hand around my heart and was squeezing it. I took no pleasure in my morning tasks. I walked into a coffee shop and saw one of my professors. I was in college at the time. She greeted me and asked how I was doing. I absent-mindedly replied, "Hanging in there." A moment later, I thought, hanging in there? You're living in the victory of Jesus Christ, and you dare to characterize your existence this way. Who was it that gave such a reply? Was it me? How then did I despise it so immediately afterwards? My alignment was slipping. I never doubted this unrest in my soul was related to the termination of the fast. It was only when I began to consider pulling the plug entirely that I gained peace on the matter. I sought the counsel of family, and I considered the ramifications of such a decision. I'm in a state of fasting and prayer on the matter as I write this entry. While I still seek the will of the Lord and will not act until I'm confident of it, I have a new phrase echoing inside of me. Social media and entertainment is poisonous to your soul. And my soul is not something that I may allow to be poisoned. 3 days after I wrote that entry, I deleted my social media accounts, Instagram, Facebook, even Snapchat, sparing only my YouTube account. And perhaps after hearing that entry, you can understand why. So, your turn.
Well, hearing what you wrote after that experience, it's pretty amazing. It's stunning, to hear that, to believe that social media and entertainment had that much impact on you. And, I want to explore why you think it had that much impact on you, and I want to address some of the issues that no doubt other people in their minds right now are saying, it doesn't have that effect on me. My chest would not be tight after if I had gotten off and get back on. There's something else going on there. So I think we need to dig into the particulars of that and try to unravel why it made such a difference.
Yeah.
Because it is so much of an impact. I think it just leaves people shaking their heads. And I do want to point out to people that you wrote this well before you ever considered being in this line of work or doing a podcast on this. I mean, this was a few years ago when you were in college. I would also point out that when you made this decision, one of the big things was you're a musician. You were promoting yourself and making connections on social media.
Yeah.
And so you made the decision that doing that way is not worth the ramifications of what I'm having to deal with otherwise. Because I know there will be arguments of, that's why I'm on social media.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I just want to point that out. But why do you think this was so transformative? And do you think your experience was atypical, or do you think anyone who did this would have a similar experience?
We choose the reality that we live in based on what we direct our attention towards. You see what you look at. You hear what you listen to. And by looking at something, you're choosing to value it. And in that way, your own experience of reality is a manifestation of your value system. When you direct your attention to what's on social media, that's the world that you're choosing to live in. when you direct it away, and entertainment was also a big part of this. That's not what we're talking about today. We are going to talk about it at another point, so I'm just going to hang on social media here. When you take your attention away from that, then you're also changing your own experience of reality. So, how impactful that experience is going to be for you is directly proportional to how much time you spend on social media, because that's how much time you're giving your attention to that thing, and therefore it's that proportion of your reality that consists of. So if you spend 30 minutes on social media a day and you get rid of social media, your experience of reality is going to be very similar. If you spend 3 hours on social media, then you're going to have a very impactful experience doing this. Now, was it more impactful for me because of my personality and because of the things that I'm interested in and the way that I think about things? I think that that's possible, yes. But I'll also say, I'm not on an island here. I'm not the first one to have done this. And the other people that have done it, they have their reasons too. So I wouldn't go so far as to say this is a universal experience, but I would say it's universal enough that it's worth a try, right? There's a good enough chance that you're going to learn something important from an experience like this that you should try it for yourself.